Very good evening. It's 8 o'clock. I'm Tony Ndoro live from Johannesburg, and these are your top stories. A school community is in shock this evening. 3 pupils pass away and 23 others are injured after a walking bridge collapses at a school in Vanderbijl Park.
Members of the NPA who are unwilling to work as professionals with integrity do not have a future in the organization.
A stern start to her tenure as the National Director of Public Prosecutions for Shamila Batoyi. The entire PIC board has requested to be relieved of their duties, citing various recent events that have destabilized the institution. 3 pupils from Hoër School Driehoek in Vanderbijl Park won't be returning home from school. They died after a walkway bridge at the school collapsed. 23 of their classmates were injured and are being treated in hospital. Yanka Tolme takes a look.
It's a painful day. It's a difficult day. It's indeed painful for the leadership of the school to notify these parents that someone they saw this morning happy to come to school, they have to deal with logistics of death.
2 boys and 1 girl were making their way to class when the unthinkable happened. They died when a walkway at the school came crashing down.
I came back, ran in and just was looking for my elder son, Royden. And nobody knew where he was. It was quite chaotic, obviously. But yeah, and I heard that he was under the rubble. He was still alive and he was breathing and there was still a heartbeat. But his injuries were too severe and he unfortunately passed away.
Over 20 other pupils are now recovering in hospital. Those who were lucky enough to survive are in shock.
In God's mercy, my child survived, but I feel sorry and pain for the parents who lost their kids.
Investigations are now taking place and it will be some time before answers are forthcoming. And more questions are already being asked. How safe are the children in the school and others across the province?
We would like the Department of Education in Gauteng to conduct a thorough, holistic assessment of school infrastructure in Gauteng across all public and private schools, because this incident should not happen again.
Hoër School Driehoek will remain closed until further notice, and those affected are receiving counselling. Yanka Tolme, Johannesburg.
Now, in the wake of the deaths of the 3 pupils, parents and family members from Hoër School Driehoek have been laying wreaths outside the school. Our reporter Masego Rahlaga has been outside the school and filed this report for us.
There is going to be a briefing by the MEC tomorrow here at the school at 11 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we'll find out more details, because when I asked the MEC spokesperson Steve Mabona whether they have actually let the other 2 families know whether they were able to identify the other 2 pupils who passed away and let their families know, he said to me I should wait until the 11 o'clock briefing tomorrow. But if you look at it, Faith, I mean, these parents and this community is praying that, you know, the death toll doesn't rise, because if you have 14 pupils who are at priority 1 hospitals, that means they are in critical condition, and of course those are one of the main prayers by some of the parents here. We did also see a pupil who was one of the pupils who were injured. She already has a really bad injury on her leg. Her dad had to carry her around. They unfortunately were too emotional to speak to us.
Now, she's promising to sweep her office clean and put justice first. Advocate Shamila Batoyi has officially stepped into her new role as head of the troubled NPA. Now, one of her immediate tasks will be to restore the public's trust in the prosecuting authority. Samkele Maseko has the report.
I returned to the NPA at a time of crisis, not only for the organization, but also for the rule of law in South Africa.
The new National Director of Public Prosecutions seems steadfast in her desire to steer the ship through choppy waters. Advocate Shamila Batoyi says she knows people are hungry for justice, as they have every right to be. This includes looking at the names of senior NPA officials mentioned at the state capture inquiry But Toy is insisting prosecutors cannot be for sale and those without integrity will be rooted out.
Serious allegations have emerged, some old, some new, but all damaging if they are found to have any basis in fact at all. What is emerging is distressing in the extreme and will receive immediate attention from me and my team.
The NPA has been plagued by allegations of political meddling.
I did have a conversation with the president, and I said to him that, I know it's guaranteed in the Constitution, but I want you sitting here to give me that assurance. And unhesitatingly, the president said there will be no interference.
But Toy is also saying she'll prioritize violent and gender-based crimes.
There is simply too much to do.
Samkele Masego, Pretoria.
Meanwhile, a former prosecutor has told the Mkhoro inquiry senior NPA officials Nomngcobo Jiba and Lawrence Mkhwebi interfered in the Cato Manor murder and racketeering case. Senior police officers, including former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Johan Boysen, had been accused of killing civilian witnesses. The case against Boysen was later thrown out of court. Justice Minister Michael Masuta says he wasn't aware that Jiba and Lawrence Mkhwebi were running amok at the NPA.
The allegations of bribes, whether I was aware of them, that are coming through at the inquiry into the fitness to hold office of the two deputies, that is completely new information to me. I at no stage had reason to suspect and never had any inkling of any such manipulations.
The entire board of Africa's biggest fund manager has thrown in the towel. Members of the PIC board wrote to Finance Minister Tito Mboweni asking to be relieved of their duties. In the letter, signed by all 9 members, including Chairperson and Deputy Finance Minister Mondli Gugubele, they highlighted efforts to discredit the board. The members say this has compromised the credibility of their work. The resignations come after the state-owned pension fund issued a statement, including allegations from a whistleblower known only as James Noko. He's accused board member Spusiwe Zulu of working with acting chief executive Matsepo More and Gugubele to capture the PIC. Controversial church leader Shepherd Bushiri has been arrested. A statement from the church says he and his wife Mary were arrested by the Hawks on fraud and money laundering charges. A spokesperson for Bushiri said police came in the morning to the hotel where they were staying and took them to the Hawks headquarters. Earlier this year, reports emerged that Bushiri was sending about 15 million rand a month to his birth country of Malawi. He also came under fire following the death of congregants in his church. Earlier today, the CRL Rights Commission found the church had complied with safety standards. But that victory has been short-lived as Bushiri faces further legal challenges. So police are investigating if any of their own helped 2 murderers escape from the South Gauteng High Court. A manhunt is now underway to find them. This is the second time prisoners awaiting sentencing escaped from the same court in less than 2 months. Lindo Kuhlekulu has more.
They could be anywhere on these Johannesburg streets, possibly even further away. Murder convicts 27-year-old Andisile Mbanyelo and 29-year-old Njabulo Thokozani Khumalo have escaped from the South Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. They were meant to be sentenced.
It was in the morning when the truck which was coming from Johannesburg prison to bring the prisoners to the court came into court. When they went out of the truck, 2 suspects escaped from the court.
The escapees are being described as dangerous and people are urged not to engage them.
we are calling for the community in this one to give the information of the whereabouts of the suspects, not to try to apprehend them, as they were here for sentences of murders.
Police are now investigating if any of their members were involved.
We are going to investigate and see if there is there was a hand of one of the members to make sure that those people escape. But what we are saying is that the investigation is on, and we will do all to our powers to make sure that we investigate everything.
Police previously re-arrested prisoners who escaped from this court, and they are confident they can do it again. Lindokuhle Xulu, Johannesburg.
Stay with us on eNews. Coming up will be your international news, where the death toll from the collapse of a dam wall in Brazil has now risen to 110. Rofio will have some business news coming up.
Absolutely, Tony. So the Rand's rally seems to have backtracked after showing impressive gains this week. We'll find out why.
Welcome back. Rofio Madzena joins us now with the business news. Light at the end of the tunnel for Eskom.
That's right, Tony. So they've been able to secure about 30% of the funding they need for operations, and they were given this by local and international banks, which means they've got some faith in Eskom. They were able to secure 15 billion rand, which will take them on for a few months until the end of their financial year. Another thing that's important to watch is next week's SONA, because President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to have to make a decision whether the recommendations by the experts that he hired to split Eskom into two state-owned entities will be done. This will also help the capital inflows for the power utility. So this is something we're going to be keeping a close eye on, and how this money will be used.
Okay, we were talking about Eskom. Edcon as well has been thrown a bit of a lifeline.
Yeah, no, Edcon has been thrown a lifeline. The company was able to secure 3 billion to last it for another 3 or so years. So that company is going to have a good outlook. I mean, there were over 12,000 jobs that were going to be lost there. So it's a good sign for the company that they've been able to secure that funding. And I think on that note, we can just have a look at the markets that we saw today. Yep. So the JSE ended the week on a lower note, and it was dragged down by industrials and the banks. On the commodities front, Brent crude continues to edge higher. Not great news for motorists, as the petrol price is set to increase next week, Wednesday. Gold lost a bit of its shine today, down 1/3%, while platinum posted some positive gains. Onto the local unit now. The Rand retreated from its 6-month high after disappointing economic data. New vehicle sales data showed a 7.4% decline in January, and the ABSA Purchasing Managers Index also declined in January. And that's how your money worked for you, Tony.
Okay. You're assuming my money worked for me. Rafia, thank you so much for the business news. Right, we carry on now. Take a look at the day's top stories around the world. And the death toll from the collapse of a dam in Brazil has risen to 110. Over 200 people are still missing. The dam, owned by Brazilian mining giant Vale SA, burst on January 25th, causing a massive mudslide. It buried company buildings and parts of the nearby city, Brumadinho. The mining company has promised compensation for the families of the victims. Former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo is still in detention despite his acquittal by the International Criminal Court. Gbagbo and his aide Blair Good were cleared last month of charges of crimes against humanity committed during post-election violence between 2010 and 2011. But ICC prosecutors are contesting the acquittal and want conditions attached to their release. They are concerned Gbagbo and Good won't return to court if a retrial is ordered. After the break, we'll go to Joel Guy at our weather center for your live weather report. And then, would you turn vegan for 30 years worth of tickets to Beyonce and Jay-Z concerts? Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's go directly to the weather center where Joel Guy is standing by. Good evening, Joel.
Good evening, Tony. Well, we have stormy weather that is going to be going on throughout the night across much of the interior, and some of the thunderstorms will also start to spread towards the southwestern parts of the country. And so we're going to start off Saturday with thundery showers around Cape Town and surrounding areas, and also over the central parts of the country, including parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Then later on in the afternoon, we are going to be seeing scattered to widespread thunderstorms extending all the way from the southwestern parts of the country through the Free State and the Eastern Cape into much of northeastern South Africa. And towards the evening, the thundershowers will be spreading also into parts of Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal. The storms will be particularly heavy over the eastern areas of the Eastern Cape as well as over parts of the Free State. Now, let's take it closer to your part of the country. We start with the Northern Cape, where isolated thundershowers are forecast once again on Saturday over much of the province. It will stay pretty hot over the northeastern sections, where Appington should make it to around 34 degrees. We are expecting thundery showers as well over much of the Western Cape. Fairly heavy rains over the southern parts of the province, including around the Garden Route. Cape Town should warm to around 28 degrees. It's going to stay pretty stormy for much of the Eastern Cape interior. A bit of rain over the coastal areas, including around East London, where a high of 27 is forecast. We are also going to see light rain showers for the KZN coastal areas. Thunderstorms will persist for the interior of the province, and it's going to be pleasantly warm for much of the province. Unsettled weather is also forecast for the Mpumalanga Highveld. Light rain from Bombela, where a hot 30 degrees is forecast for the top temperature. It's going to be mostly dry for the bulk of the Limpopo province, with isolated thundershowers for Tawazimbi and Bela Bela, and a bit of rain in Thohoyandou as well as Tsanin. We are expecting thunderstorms for much of the northwest, where we stay with highs in the upper 20s and lower 30s. Very unsettled weather is forecast for much of the Free State, Bloemfontein and Velkom, both warming to around 25 degrees. Gauteng is also going to see lots of thunderstorms on Saturday, with Pretoria warming to around 26 degrees. Now, we end the weekend with thunderstorms persisting over much of South Africa and light rain setting in around Vredendal, Cape Town as well as George. Then we start the coming week with light rain persisting around George and spreading into Port Elizabeth and East London, and thundershowers continuing over the eastern parts of the country. That's all from me, Tony. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Joe Guy, there from our weather center. Now, finally, power couple Beyonce and Jay-Z will be giving one lucky fan tickets to all their concerts.